You see, sometimes in life, God has to pull you away in order to pour into you. Some of you have been wondering why certain doors closed, why certain people walked away, why you found yourself in a season of silence and solitude. But I came to tell you this morning, it's not punishment, it's preparation. Because when God separates you, He's not rejecting you. He's protecting you. He's building something in you that can't be built in the crowd. He's developing a strength, a discipline, a focus that only comes when you're alone with Him. You see, there's a strength that only comes through separation. There's a power that only shows up when the noise dies down. Sometimes God will take you off the stage, put you in the shadows and whisper, "I'm not done with you yet." So don't despise the isolation. Don't curse the separation, because in that quiet place, God is fortifying your faith, sharpening your vision, and preparing you for elevation. Sometimes, when God starts to move in your life, He doesn't announce it with fireworks or fanfare. He doesn't send you a text message saying, "I'm about to shift you." No. Sometimes the first sign that God is working is that things start leaving your life. People start walking away. Doors start closing. Opportunities you thought were yours begin to dry up. And you start to wonder, "Lord, what did I do wrong?" But hear me when I tell you, separation is not rejection, it's divine redirection. What feels like loss is often God's way of guiding you. What looks like rejection is really protection in disguise. You thought they walked away from you, but really God moved them because they couldn't go where He's taking you. See, some of us have been trying to drag people into seasons they were never built to survive. You keep asking God to bless you, but you're still holding hands with people who can't handle your blessing. And God loves you too much to let you sabotage your own destiny. So before He opens the next door, He closes the old one, and sometimes He closes it hard. When God separates you, He's not saying you're not good enough. He's saying, you've outgrown that place. You've matured beyond that circle. You've learned what you needed to learn in that environment. And now it's time for something greater. But because we are creatures of comfort, we cling to the familiar, even when it's no longer fruitful. We keep watering relationships that have already withered. We keep knocking on doors God has already locked. And when nothing moves, we cry, "Lord, why have you forsaken me?" But He hasn't forsaken you. He's redirecting you. The Bible says in John 15 that every branch that bears fruit, He prunes. Why? So that it can bear more fruit. That means even fruitful people get cut. Even productive people face separation. But the cutting is never to destroy. It's to develop. You think God's trying to hurt you, but He's really trying to help you grow. So maybe that job that ended wasn't rejection. Maybe it was redirection. Maybe God had to push you out so you could start the business He put in your heart. Maybe that relationship that fell apart wasn't a failure. It was freedom. Because if it had stayed, it would have suffocated your spirit. You were praying for peace while holding on to what was causing your pain. And God said, "I can't bless what you won't release." You see, divine redirection is often disguised as disappointment. God uses what hurts to help us move. If He didn't let it fall apart, you'd never move forward. If he didn't close that door, you'd still be standing in the hallway of yesterday. So he allows the discomfort to deliver you into your destiny. When you look at Scripture, you'll see this pattern again and again. Abraham had to leave his father's house before he could become the father of nations. Joseph was separated from his family before he could save his family. David was anointed in front of his brothers and then sent away to the field. Jesus himself was led by the Spirit into the wilderness before his ministry began. Every great elevation begins with separation. So stop seeing separation as rejection. Stop crying over who left and start thanking God for what's coming. The moment you stop chasing what God removed, you'll start receiving what He's preparing. The reason some of us can't step into our new season is because our hands are too full of the old one. You've got to let go to grow. Sometimes God will separate you not because you did something wrong, but because He wants to do something new. He'll pull you out of the crowd so He can speak to you in private, because there are some lessons that can't be learned in the noise of community. They require the silence of separation. It's in the quiet place that you rediscover who you are. It's when you're alone that you hear His voice more clearly. That's why you can't take every separation personally. When God removes someone from your life, it's not always about them. It's about you. It's about the assignment on your life. Everyone connected to you can't handle the weight of your purpose. Some people were only meant to be part of your process, not your promotion. And if you keep holding on to what God is trying to remove, you'll delay your own destiny. You don't have to understand the separation to trust the direction. Faith says, even when I don't see the pattern, I trust the planner. God doesn't always explain His moves, but He never makes a mistake. Every no from Him is attached to a greater wise. Every exit leads to a new entrance. Every ending in God's hands is really a new beginning. And when you finally look back, when you've come through the pain and the confusion, you'll realize it was all part of the plan. You'll see that what you thought was rejection was really God's redirection towards something far better. You'll see that the door that closed forced you to walk through the one He'd been waiting to open. You'll realize that He wasn't taking something from you. He was making room for something for you. So don't get bitter about who left. Don't waste your time chasing what's behind you. Lift your head, wipe your tears, and say, Lord, thank you for every closed door, every goodbye, every delay. Because now I see you were redirecting me. Because when God separates you, it's never to leave you stranded. It's to place you strategically. It's not punishment, it's positioning. He's steering you toward purpose, pushing you toward power, pulling you toward promise. So the next time life separates you, don't panic. Pivot. Don't question His hand. Trust His heart. He's not rejecting you, He's redirecting you. Because every divine separation is setting the stage for a divine connection. Every loss is leading to a greater level, and every no from man is preparing you for a mighty yes from God. You may not see it yet, but when it's all said and done, you'll lift your hands and say, Lord, now I understand. That separation wasn't the end of me. It was the beginning of who you called me to be. There comes a time in every believer's life when God pulls you aside, shuts the door, and says, "Now it's just you and me." That's the moment of divine isolation, not loneliness, not abandonment, but isolation. It's the season when the phone stops ringing, when the crowd grows quiet, when the applause fades, and you start wondering if anybody even sees you anymore. But what you don't realize is that while you're pacing the floor saying, "Lord, where are you?" He's whispering, "I'm right here, working on you." Isolation is not punishment, it's the process. It's God's incubator for transformation. It's the place where He hides you to heal you, molds you to make you, and strips you so He can strengthen you. Before God reveals a person publicly, He refines them privately. Before He puts you in the light, He tests you in the dark. Because character is not developed on the stage. It's developed in the shadows. Think about how an eagle develops. When the eaglet is ready to fly, the mother doesn't just push it out and hope it works. She builds a nest high up, away from everything else, a place of isolation. That nest is both uncomfortable and protective. It's filled with sticks, thorns, and feathers, all designed to make the eaglet restless enough to stretch its wings. In that hidden place, it learns what it means to fly. God does the same with us. He places us in environments that may feel uncomfortable, but are essential for our growth. The womb of transformation is never public, it's private. A baby grows in isolation, in the hidden safety of the mother's womb. Nobody can see the development happening, but the formation is real. When you're in God's incubator, people may not see the progress, but God sees it. He's forming things in you that the world won't recognize until the appointed time. When you're isolated, you start to see yourself differently. You begin to hear things you couldn't hear when you were surrounded by noise. Sometimes God has to get you alone just to get your attention. You can't hear destiny clearly when you're constantly surrounded by distraction. That's why He pulls you away, not to hurt you, but to help you hear Him. Because revelation requires separation. The Bible shows us that isolation is often the gateway to transformation. Moses spent 40 years alone in the desert before leading a nation. Elijah was fed by ravens in the wilderness before calling down fire from heaven. John the Baptist lived in the wilderness before preparing the way of the Lord. And Jesus, the Son of God, was led into the wilderness for 40 days before He ever performed a miracle. Every major move of God begins in a season of isolation. You see, when God isolates you, He's not removing you from purpose. He's revealing purpose to you. He's detoxing your soul from the noise of other voices. He's teaching you to depend not on applause, not on affirmation, but on Him. Because if you need people to validate you, you'll crumble when they criticize you. But when you learn to be alone with God and still be at peace, that's when you know transformation is taking place. In isolation, you discover what truly matters. The masks come off. The noise dies down. The opinions fade. And what's left is you and your Maker. He starts peeling back the layers you've built up. The pride, the fear, the insecurity, until He gets to the real you. That's why isolation feels uncomfortable. Transformation always does. The clay doesn't complain about the potter's hands because the pressure is necessary to shape the vessel. Some of you are in a quiet season right now. You're saying, Lord, nobody's calling. Nobody's noticing. Nothing's moving. But can I tell you something? Just because nothing is visible doesn't mean nothing is happening. Seeds grow underground before they ever break through the soil. Caterpillars transform inside the cocoon where no one can see them. The most powerful growth happens in the dark, and that's what the incubator of isolation does. It shields you from premature exposure. You're not being hidden because you're forgotten. You're being hidden because you're becoming. God is keeping you under cover, so the enemy can't kill what's still developing. If he exposed you too soon, the weight of the assignment might crush you. So he says, stay here a little longer. Let me strengthen your roots before I show off your fruit. When you're in isolation, you learn the discipline of stillness. You learn that you don't have to perform for God to love you. You learn that your value isn't tied to your visibility. You begin to realize that the most powerful moments are the ones nobody sees. The late night prayers, the silent tears, the whispered worship when nobody's watching. That's where transformation takes root. The enemy wants you to believe that isolation means you're insignificant. He wants you to confuse being alone with being abandoned. But God never isolates to abandon. He isolates to advance. He removes distractions so he can reveal direction. He strips away the familiar so he can introduce you to the future. You may feel like you've been left out, but in truth, you've been set apart. And when the incubation period ends, when the season of isolation completes its purpose, you'll emerge different, stronger, sharper, more focused. The things that used to shake you won't move you anymore because you were strengthened in solitude. People will look at you and say, "What happened to you?" And you'll say, "I spent time alone with God." That's what happened to Moses. When he came down from the mountain after being alone with God, his face shone with glory. He didn't even realize the transformation had happened, but everyone else could see it. That's what happens when you've been in the incubator of isolation. The glory of God clings to you. So if you're in a season of isolation right now, don't despise it. Embrace it. It's not the end of your story. It's the forming of your strength. You're not buried, you're planted. You're not forgotten, you're being formed. God is using this season to prepare you for the one that's coming next. When the incubation is complete, the door will open and you'll step out with new confidence, new clarity, and new power. But until then, stay still, stay faithful, stay teachable, because isolation is not empty space, it's sacred space. It's where transformation happens, where purpose matures, and where destiny is born. So lift your head, even in the quiet. Wipe your tears, even in the waiting. God is doing his best work in the place nobody can see. And when he's done, the world will witness what the wilderness produced. Because isolation is not the end. It's God's incubator for transformation. We live in a world obsessed with the spotlight. Everybody wants to be seen, known, validated. We post, we perform, we project. But God doesn't build strength in the spotlight. He builds it in solitude. Strength isn't forged in the applause. It's forged in the absence of it. It's when nobody's watching, nobody's clapping, nobody's calling your name. That's when God is shaping you into who you're meant to be. The world sees the shine, but God sees the struggle behind the shine. The crown is visible, but the crushing that produced it happens in secret. People admire the product, but they don't understand the process. Every strong person you see has gone through seasons of solitude, moments where it was just them, their tears, and their God. Because strength is not built in the crowd, it's born in the cave. David didn't become a warrior when he faced Goliath. He became a warrior out in the field, tending sheep, fighting lions and bears when nobody saw him. It was solitude that prepared him for the spotlight. The private battles gave him public victory. And the same is true for you. Your greatest strength will come from what you endure when nobody else knows your name. You see, the spotlight can make you visible, but solitude makes you valuable. The spotlight reveals your gift, but solitude reveals your grit. Anybody can look strong when people are cheering for them, but can you stay faithful when no one notices? Can you keep believing when nobody's encouraging you? Can you keep working when no one is clapping? That's where strength is forged. God uses solitude as the gym of the spirit. He puts you in situations that stretch your faith, test your patience, and build your endurance. When you feel isolated, He's training your inner man. When you feel overlooked, He's strengthening your backbone. Because what God is preparing you for requires more than talent. It requires tenacity. The weight of your calling demands a foundation strong enough to carry it. And that strength can only be built in solitude. Look at Jesus. Before He ever performed a miracle, before He ever preached a sermon, the Spirit led Him into the wilderness. Alone. No disciples, no audience, no crowd. 40 days of testing, fasting, praying. And when He came out in power. That's the pattern of God. He isolates you before He elevates you. He strengthens you in private before He shows you off in public. You can't get strong in comfort. You get strong under pressure. You get strong when you learn to trust God in the silence. Solitude forces you to face yourself, your fears, your weaknesses, your wounds. It's where you wrestle with doubt, wrestle with insecurity, wrestle with God Himself, and come out limping but blessed, like Jacob did. The limp becomes proof that you survived the struggle. It's in solitude that your soul gains muscle. Sometimes God will hide you because He's still hardening you. You're not ready for the weight of the next level yet. You're still learning how to pray through pain, how to stand under rejection, how to keep walking when the path doesn't make sense. You're still learning how to depend on His voice more than people's validation. That's why He'll pull you away for a season, not to punish you, but to prepare you. The spotlight can expose you before you're ready. Solitude protects you while you're growing. If you rise before you're rooted, the wind will destroy you. God says, "Let me build your roots deep enough in solitude, so that when the storm comes, you won't fall." Strength that lasts isn't built in a moment of fame. It's built in years of faithfulness. Ask any great leader, any great believer, any great overcomer. They'll tell you, "I didn't get strong when people praised me. I got strong when I cried alone and still got up the next morning." Strength is forged in those nights you pray and hear nothing, but you keep praying anyway. It's forged in those days you want to quit, but you show up anyway. It's forged in the quiet discipline of staying consistent when it would be easier to walk away. We often want God to promote us quickly, but He's more interested in making us sturdy, because premature exposure destroys fragile faith. If the light hits you before you're ready, it can burn you. So God hides you until you can handle it. He keeps you in the shadows until your spirit is strong enough to carry your calling without collapsing under its weight. When God forges strength in solitude, He's not just building what people can see. He's building what they can't. He's building resilience, integrity, humility, patience. He's teaching you how to handle loss with grace and success with gratitude. That's why some of the most powerful people are the quietest ones, because they learned in solitude that strength isn't loud, it's steady. If you find yourself in a lonely season right now, don't despise it. That's your training ground. You may feel like nothing is happening, but God is strengthening your spirit for what's next. You're lifting invisible weights, emotional, spiritual, mental. And each day you stay faithful, you're getting stronger. Think of the blacksmith forging steel. The metal is heated, hammered, and shaped repeatedly until it becomes strong enough to withstand pressure. If the process is rushed, the weapon will break in battle. God is the same way. He allows the heat, the hammering, the waiting, not to destroy you, but to make sure when the fight comes, you don't break. So don't curse your solitude. Don't resent the season where you feel unseen. God is using it to forge the strength that will sustain you later. Every tear you've cried, every prayer you've prayed in private, they're not wasted. They're adding weight to your spirit, endurance to your faith, maturity to your soul. When the spotlight finally finds you, it won't define you, because you were already forged in solitude. You won't need applause to keep going, because your strength won't come from people, it will come from God. You'll stand firm, not because you were cheered for, but because you were changed in the quiet. And when the world sees your strength, they'll call it sudden, but you'll know it wasn't sudden, it was solitude. God did His best work in me when nobody was looking. He made me strong in silence so I could stand in storms. So keep walking through your private season. Keep trusting God in the dark, because strength is being forged in you right now. Strength you'll need for the doors that are opening, the battles that are coming, and the destiny that's waiting. Remember, strength is not born in the spotlight. Strength is forged in solitude. Everybody wants the elevation. Everybody wants the promotion, the platform, the blessing, the breakthrough. But what most people don't understand is that before God lifts you up, He will first pull you apart. Before He promotes you publicly, He will prune you privately, because elevation without separation will destroy you. You can't go higher while still holding on to everything that's beneath you. God will not allow you to carry yesterday's baggage into tomorrow's blessing. There is a weight limit on your destiny, and sometimes the separation is God saying, "You can't take that with you where I'm taking you." We like the idea of going up, but we don't like the process of being cut away. Yet, every true elevation in Scripture was preceded by separation. Abraham couldn't be the father of faith until he left his father's house. Joseph couldn't rule in Egypt until he was ripped away from his family. Moses couldn't deliver Israel until he fled the palace and spent 40 years in the wilderness. Even Jesus separated himself from the crowd to pray before stepping into his power. You can't have one without the other. Separation is the proving ground for elevation. God uses it to test your motives, to refine your heart, to strip you of pride and dependence on people. Because if you can't handle being alone, you won't be able to handle being above. If you fall apart in isolation, you'll crumble under influence. God says, "Let me teach you to stand before I let you shine." You might be in that between season right now. The season where you feel suspended between where you were and where you're going. You don't fit in with the old crowd anymore, but the new season hasn't started yet. You're caught between goodbye and hello, between exit and entrance. That's the hallway of separation, and that's where God does his deepest work. It's easy to shout about elevation when you see the promise, but it's hard to praise through separation when you feel the pain, because separation hurts. It means losing familiar people, comfortable places, predictable patterns. It means stepping away from what once defined you. But if you don't let go of what was, you'll never step into what will be. God has to break the attachment before he can bring the advancement. Sometimes the hardest part of growth is saying goodbye to who you used to be. You prayed for new levels, but new levels require a new version of you. God says, "I can't elevate the old you. That person can't breathe in the new atmosphere." He separates you so he can upgrade you. He removes what's expired so he can release what's eternal. The pruning process is painful but purposeful. In John 15, Jesus said that every branch that bears fruit must be pruned so it can bear more fruit. Notice, he doesn't just cut away the dead branches. He also cuts the fruitful ones. Why? Because sometimes the good becomes the enemy of the greater. God says, "I'm not just cutting what's killing you. I'm cutting what's limiting you." So when people walk out, don't chase them. When doors close, don't bang on them. When opportunities dry up, don't panic. Separation is not rejection. It's preparation for elevation. God is removing distractions, trimming excess weight, and making sure your circle is small enough for him to fit in. The higher you go, the narrower it gets. Airplanes climb with less weight, not more. And some people can't breathe at the altitude you're going to. You may have thought that person was supposed to go with you, but God saw something you didn't see. He saw that their presence would hinder your progress. He saw that their loyalty was seasonal. He saw that their spirit couldn't handle your speed. So before you got too far, he allowed separation to protect your elevation. Don't misunderstand it. Separation doesn't mean superiority. It doesn't mean you're better than anyone else. It means your assignment is different. God calls you apart to call you higher. And when he calls you higher, not everyone can come. You can love them, pray for them, honor them, but you can't carry them. Some journeys are solo by design. Think about the eagle. When it's time to soar, it doesn't take the whole nest with it. It rises alone. It catches the wind that only eagles can handle. If it tried to fly with the chickens, it would never reach the heights it was created for. You are the same way. You were never meant to stay grounded just to keep others comfortable. Separation is the sign that God is ready to release you into the air. When God separates you, He's not just changing your environment, He's changing your elevation. He's shifting your perspective, your priorities, your posture. You start to see differently, think differently, move differently. What used to satisfy you no longer does, because you've outgrown that level. The things that used to entertain you now irritate you, because your spirit knows there's more. Elevation requires purification. God won't pour fresh oil into old wineskins. That's why He has to separate you, to create space for new capacity. He's not subtracting from you. He's setting you up for overflow. But He can't fill what's already full. So He empties you before He elevates you. When the separation season stretches long, you may be tempted to think God forgot you. But hear me, He hasn't forgotten. He's formatting. You're in the download phase. He's installing new wisdom, new strength, new discipline, new humility. And when the system update is complete, He'll launch you into elevation. When that day comes, you'll look back and say, now I understand why they had to leave, why that door had to close, why that season had to end. You'll realize it wasn't loss, it was launch. God was pulling you back like an arrow, not to weaken you, but to give you momentum. Separation was the stretch that preceded your soar. So don't curse the cutting. Don't resist the releasing. Every great elevation begins with separation. You cannot step into promise while clinging to the past. You cannot rise with what was weighing you down. Let it go, trust His hand, and watch Him lift you higher. Because before elevation comes separation. Before promotion comes pruning. Before breakthrough comes breaking. God is not trying to take something from you. He's trying to take you somewhere. And when you finally reach that next level, you'll realize that everything and everyone that stayed behind was never meant to fly this high. So thank God for the separation. Thank Him for the silence. Thank Him for the stretching. Because it means your elevation is closer than it looks. Dependence. And when He lifts you, you won't just rise, you'll reign. There are moments in life when it feels like everything is being taken away. People walk out. Opportunities slip through your hands. Prayers seem unanswered. The doors you thought God opened suddenly slam shut, and you're left wondering, why would God let this happen? But hear me today. When God removes, He's not rejecting you, He's renewing you. When He withholds, He's not punishing you, He's preparing you. Because God never takes without the intention to replace. He removes to renew, and He withholds to rebuild. You see, God is a master builder. And any good builder knows that before you can lay a new foundation, you've got to tear down the old structure. You can't pour new concrete on top of crumbling stone. You've got to remove what's unstable so the new thing can stand firm. And that's exactly what God does with us. He'll start tearing down relationships, routines, and mindsets that can't support the weight of your next season. Not because He's cruel, but because He loves you too much to let you build your future on a broken foundation. Sometimes God will take away what you wanted to give you what you needed. He'll remove what you thought was essential so He can show you what's eternal. You'll cry over what's gone, not realizing He's making room for something better. You'll grieve over what's missing, not knowing He's shifting things for your good. Because the God who removes is also the God who renews. We often focus on the loss, but we forget that pruning is part of growth. A gardener doesn't cut a branch to kill the tree. He cuts it so it can produce more fruit. When God starts cutting, it means you're about to grow. It means something new is coming. It means the next season is being set in motion. Don't misinterpret the removal as rejection. It's actually revelation. God is revealing what you've outgrown. Maybe He removed that friendship because it was draining your focus. Maybe He withheld that job because it would have distracted you from your calling. Maybe He delayed that dream because the timing wasn't mature yet. Sometimes God will close His hand because open doors at the wrong time can destroy you. And when He withholds, He's not denying, He's developing. He's fortifying your faith, teaching you to trust Him when you can't trace Him. It's easy to praise when God gives, but can you still praise when He takes? It's easy to believe when you see the blessing, but can you still believe when you only see the breaking? True faith is proven not in the giving, but in the withholding. It's when God says no that your trust is tested. But what if His no is really not yet? What if His silence is actually strategy? What if His withholding is saving you from something that would have wrecked you? God says, I'm removing this so I can restore you. I'm withholding that so I can heal you. You think He's taking things away, but He's really taking you deeper. He's detoxing your heart from dependency on temporary things. Because He knows you can't step into your destiny, still clinging to dysfunction. He's not emptying your life. He's making space for what's next. Look at Job. God allowed everything around him to be stripped away. His wealth, his health, his family. But the end of Job's story wasn't tragedy, it was triumph. The Bible says the Lord gave him double for his trouble. That's what renewal looks like. When God restores, He doesn't just bring you back. He brings you back better. Look at the disciples. When Jesus died, they thought everything was over. Their teacher was gone, their purpose felt lost. But what looked like removal was really resurrection in disguise. God was removing the earthly Jesus to reveal the risen Christ. Sometimes God will let something die so He can show you what lives beyond it. We keep trying to hold on to what God is trying to remove. We keep crying over what He's trying to replace. But until you release what's expired, you'll never receive what's extraordinary. You've got to let Him clean house. You've got to trust the process of divine removal. Because renewal is never comfortable, it's costly. But every loss in God's hands is an investment toward your future. Maybe right now, you're in a season of withholding. You've been praying, sowing, waiting, believing. And still, it seems like heaven is silent. You're saying, Lord, why won't you move? But what if the delay is divine? What if He's holding it back because He's holding you together? God withholds to build your endurance. He withholds to strengthen your stewardship. He withholds to prepare your heart for the harvest He's about to release. Because premature blessing can become permanent burden. You don't want it before you're ready. You don't want the blessing if your character can't carry it. You don't want the platform if your heart isn't healed. God says, I'll give it when it won't destroy you. So if he's withholding, it means he's still working. He's not saying no. He's saying, wait, I'm building something better. And when the rebuilding begins, you'll see why he had to remove and why he had to withhold. You'll realize that every empty space became the birthplace of something greater. You'll look back and say, now I see it. God was reconstructing me while I thought he was rejecting me. Because he's the kind of God who tears down only to build up again. He's the kind of God who breaks you open only to bless you more deeply. He's the kind of God who removes to renew and withholds to rebuild. And when he rebuilds, he doesn't use the same materials. He gives you new strength, new perspective, new anointing. So if you're in a season where things are being removed or withheld, don't despair. Rejoice. That means construction is happening. That means God's blueprint for your next level is unfolding. That means something greater is on the way. It may not look like renewal right now, but when he's finished, you'll see that every loss had purpose, every delay had direction, and every no had a divine yes behind it. God doesn't just restore what you lost. He renews you in the process. So lift your hands even in the removal. Worship even in the withholding. Because when the rebuilding is done, you won't just have what you lost. You'll have what you learned. And you'll stand stronger, wiser, deeper, saying, God, thank you. You removed to renew, and you withheld to rebuild. And now I see it was all for my good. You see, child of God, the whole time you thought you were being separated, God was really strengthening you. Every tear you cried, every door that closed, every person who walked away, it was all part of his divine strategy to shape you, stretch you, and prepare you for something greater. You didn't understand it when it was happening. You said, Lord, why would you take them away? Why would you let me be alone? Why does it feel like everything's falling apart? But now, you can look back and see, he wasn't taking something from you. He was taking you through something. He wasn't breaking you down. He was building you up. Because before God can strengthen you publicly, he will separate you privately. Before he trusts you with more, he'll test you with less. Before he releases the promise, he'll refine your patience. Before elevation comes separation, and before renewal comes removal. Don't despise your season of isolation, because that's the place where power is born. That's where your faith finds its voice. That's where your roots go deep enough to hold the weight of your calling. You may feel hidden, but you're not forgotten. You may feel delayed, but you're right on schedule. You may feel like everything is being stripped away, but God is clearing the clutter so his glory can rest on you. You're stronger than you think. You survived what should have destroyed you. You outlasted the storm that was meant to sink you. You endured the separation that tried to silence you. And the very pain that isolated you is about to elevate you. Because the same God who allowed the breaking is the God who promises the blessing. The same hand that pruned you will promote you. The same voice that said, "Come out from among them," will soon say, "Come up higher." So don't give up in the separation. God is preparing you for demonstration. Don't quit in the wilderness. There's glory waiting on the other side. Don't let the loneliness fool you. Heaven's working behind the scenes. You're not losing, you're leveling up. You're not being left behind, you're being launched ahead. And when you step into that next season, when the dust settles and the doors swing open, you'll be able to stand there with tears in your eyes and strength in your spirit and say, now I understand. When God separated me, He wasn't taking me down. He was setting me apart. He wasn't rejecting me. He was redirecting me. He wasn't withholding from me. He was working in me. Everything you went through had purpose. Every delay had direction. Every closed door had divine design. Because when God separates you, He's preparing to strengthen you, not just for survival, but for significance. So lift your hands right where you are. Tell the Lord,